There we go.
All right. Welcome to the Shifting Paradigm Show every Saturday at 3 p.m. Pacific Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard. I'm Tyhson Banighen, the Energy Detective, and I am here with Charlie Riverman. And we discuss the latest and the greatest in this shifting world that we are in the midst of experiencing both personally and individually. So join us every week for this show. So without further ado, we were talking about unity consciousness, and Charlie is coming out of the aftermath of brain fog from what's been going on with all of what's on the planet. And so we were talking about right brain, left brain, no brain, and whole brain consciousness, and that maybe brain fog, the symptoms of brain fog is that we are moving into a new way of using our brain. What do you think, Charlie?
Well, this has been 2.5, almost 3 years. Well, it's 2.5 anyway. So years for me with this, what we would call a disability. And I've come to learn to laugh now about it and learn to accept it, knowing that it has not stopped in any way, shape, or manner the information that I'm receiving from higher sources, which is quite common for both Tyhson and myself and many of you who are listening to this. And so when I've gone through this, I have to look and say, okay, what is it that's not being reachable? And as I said to Tyhson earlier, it's what we're getting rid of.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a lot of stuff that is there held between the two parts of our brain, the left and the right. However you want to look at them, scientifically, it doesn't really matter. The issue is that all of that is connected to a greater, what I call, network of information that isn't even stored in our body. Now there's actual proof that says that your memories are not all held in your brain. They're held in another dimension, and your brain reaches that. Now, I can't tell you what to read to verify that. But the reality, if you look at that and you start to understand why of all of these things coming up right now for all of us, and where are they coming from? There's things happening that we never even thought of. And all of a sudden they're appearing in dreams or everyday things, and you're remembering and you're saying, how do I remember this? It doesn't make sense. So what I think is going on for me is that, and I've come to adjust to this, is to just let it have its way, let it do its dance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let it do its dance. I'm not apologizing anymore for what I can't remember. I just say it's not coming. And if somebody else wants to jump in and tell me what it is, that's great. But I'm going to keep on talking. Because this is what's important, is that we do not lose a sense of stability. Because that's part of a larger envelope that we're being surrounded with, is I will call it a magnetic field. It's far more than that, but it is its simplest form. It's a magnetic field which is causing confusion.
So let's pick it back up again, because you brought in a whole bunch of concepts that I'd like to share with. And so number one, the topic here is shifting paradigms. So what is a paradigm? A paradigm is a neural network of consensus that we have arrived at from the collective unconscious, the unconscious, and from our society, our culture, our traditions, and our beliefs. We have a certain way in which we view the world collectively, that collective unconsciousness. And when that collective unconsciousness, or that paradigm, which is both the conscious, unconscious, superconscious, doesn't work anymore, like Charlie says, it doesn't work for him, it means that that belief system no longer is applicable. It doesn't solve the problems. It doesn't contain the reality of who we be and who we're becoming. And so it starts to fall apart. Like there's too many breaks in the chain of links in the cosmic, lineage of synapses that just, call it the matrix. It just doesn't fit anymore. And so that is what a paradigm shift is all about. The old, let's go and wait for the new, right? And according to systems theory, there's two ways this can go. One is a total destruction of what is, all the social, political, economic, religious, all the different systems that we've created, fundamentally because they're not aligned with nature and our own inner nature. They are bound not to succeed. They're wicked systems in the sense they take more energy to sustain and maintain, whereas a natural system aligned with Mother Earth and with evolution of consciousness is literally self-contained. In other words, it's literally has all that energy of evolution that's supporting us and supporting us. And when that happens, there's less tension, there's less need for human intervention because we and it are one, if that makes sense. So that's what shifting paradigms is all about. And as you said, there's a new neural network that's happening in your brain, and that the mind is no longer bound in between your ears, that actually it's in other dimensions, which is Rupert Sheldrake's work about the morphogenetic field, that we are all one, we're all connected, all life is one interconnected neural network. Just like in a forest, all the trees are connected in a horizon underneath the earth. They're all one living entity and communicate with each other, independent of the one tree. It's a forest. We are one entity, one super consciousness. Yes, there's Charlie and there's Tyhson and there's trees and there are animals and whatever, but we are literally a unity consciousness. Big concept to grasp. It seems like that's not possible, but we're moving towards that. And so the brain can't grasp that. The brain wants to do on and off, right or wrong, good or bad. It's like a binaural beat. It's like your computer. There's a on-off switch. Yeah. There's bytes. And this type of oneness consciousness can't handle that. In other words, it isn't programmed that way. It's programmed as a supercomputer where all the bits and bytes are all interconnected, where there is no separation into yin and yang, positive, negative, good, bad. It's all unity. So we're moving from that old paradigm of split right brain, left brain into whole brain in super consciousness. So what you're saying makes perfect sense, right? That you are really, in some ways, a forerunner in the sense that you are being literally shown that using your brain is no more a functional tool for you at this time. You're being asked to come from your heart, from your whole brain, which is a whole nother way of being. So Charlie, maybe you can talk a bit about what does that mean to come from your heart?
Well, that's a perfect lead into the heart. That when my statement to people is, what was the first thing that made us actually a living being? What went into function was our heart. So on a physical level, just as an infant in our mother's womb or coming out of the womb, when the heart started beating, that's when what we call our third dimensional life began as a human being. But we were already alive in other dimensions and in other, you can call it heaven, you can call it the ethers. The labels we put on things are all what the mind needs. It's information so that it can log everything and put it in its perfect little place. It's no better than a computer, really, at that level. And what's happened is for thousands of years, we have gradually gone from this highly intelligent being that our ancestors were, who could build pyramids and all of these other things without the tool. We can't even do them with the tools we have now. And it's diminished to a point where it's now being controlled by electromagnetic fields, your cell phones, the EMFs, all these other things. So the brain itself has come to a place where it can no longer freebase, okay? It cannot be a free thing. It's being contained. In the process of our evolution, what's happening is we are returning back to a natural process of tapping into those other dimensions where the memory is held or the wisdom comes from. We've put names on it. We have they're aliens or they're angels or they're my guides. I use all of them only because we have to express that in this third dimension. When you let go of trying to fit in and make everybody happy with what you say, and you come back into your own heart, what happens is the brain no longer is in control. And people say, well, no, that's crazy. No, it's not crazy. And the control I'm talking about is the programming.
Right.
Somebody else wrote the program and you were taught to work in that program.
And how to fit in, right?
And how to fit in. And this was from childhood. And if you didn't fit in, you were punished or you were chastised or you were ridiculed or whatever was going to be negative enough for you to say, I don't want to do that. So I will be and do what everybody has showed me as the pattern of existence, rather than explore the truth of who you are and talk to the animals and talk to the trees. And we all did that as kids, but we don't tell anybody because, oh, no, but we had that ability. We were born with that ability. So what's happening is all of that, what I would call containment protocol of the brain is now, it's not strong enough
To hold us in bondage. And
to hold us in bondage. Thank you. And that's what's happening with the shifting of the galaxies and the universe. Our universe is shifting and moving and realigning. And as it does that, it's changing the frequencies of everything, including the frequencies of Mother Earth. As right now, the gravitational spin in Mother Earth is slowing down to, some say it's actually stopped, some say it's going to reverse. It's done that in the past before. What does that have to do with outer space? It's because
like a pole shift, Charlie?
What's that?
You mean like a pole shift?
Yeah, like pole shift. So This is all caused by where we are in the greater field of our Milky Way. And everything beyond that is shifting around as well. So we're just this little tiny spot, yet we've been taught that we have been everything. Everything began with us, and how that cannot hold anymore. This is what's happening. So we're going through this change. Some of us are here specifically to receive that change and to be the pillars for others. We're holding the energy and processing the energy through us in order for others to sort of catch it like a flu in many ways, to make it a little contagious so that it spreads around the world. And we shift the whole consciousness.
Well, that's a virus worth promoting.
Yeah. Bring it back to unity consciousness. And this is where that word unity comes in. It isn't about, we don't have any independent thoughts or we don't have any freedom. It's in truth, we have all the freedom. and yet still retain the unity. We are the unity of humanity.
Right. So just to back up again, I mean, what you're saying, if I get it right, is that the neural network of our brain individually and collectively is really entrained or encased or held in bondage by the electromagnetic energies of the soup that we live in, whether it's EMF, cell phone, HARP, whatever, right? That we've been dumbed down consciously or unconsciously into this paradigm of servitude, and that in that bondage, we have no idea that liberation is really shutting that down. So let me ask you this question. If that's the question, if that's the case and we're in a paradigm shift, then I'm getting the feeling that when we raise our consciousness by focusing in our heart to be guided, then this paradigm that locks us in has less and less effect on us because we're using our brain less and less as a functioning tool to make decisions. We're using our guidance to be our GPS, not our brain. And therefore, we don't rely on it as much, and therefore, we're not in bondage as much. Does that make sense, Charlie?
It does. That's a perfect explanation. Thank you, Tyson. I love how I speak at a different rate than you do as being able to explain things. So that's exactly what's happening is as you put it into that terminology, is that really it's not that we don't need the brain, but we use it less for the things that we used to. And because we no longer need them, because we can trust our heart to get us through this. And it's not like our heart is a brain. The heart is the energy source. It's this, what do we got? The solar plexus. Here we are that star. Energy is right here in our heart. And that's where the light comes in. So, this is the thing that the triad that I work with is peace, light, and love. And this year I'm to work on peace. And it isn't about peace in the world as much as it's peace within myself. It's
right.
Back to harmony and balance. All of these distortions that are being created by what's happening outside of me. Because as that system begins to fail, and this is happening for all of us, as that system becomes overloaded, supercharged, or fails, whatever, it doesn't matter whether it's positive or negative, but whether it increases or releases, what happens is there's a shift of the energies, and that affects our brain. And now we have to trust our hearts because we can no longer. So when you have this COVID residual thing of brain fog, it's not anything new. We've had brain fog situations for years, thousands of years, probably.
Right.
But the reality is it's at a profound, having a profound effect on more people simultaneously, because right. It was intentionally brought forward as a tool, as a weapon for us to be subdued before all of the wonderful things that they've been working on for the past 100 years can be released for those who rule the world to rule the world.
Yeah, so we're talking really about, we are using nuclear energy, and we're using electrical magnetic energy that is really, and we're using engines that literally are explosive, like they're taking natural gases, oils and gas and diesel, and literally exploding to drive a piston. So it's an explosion technology. Nuclear bombs are explosion, a nuclear reaction is explosion. And the other way around, is fusion. We're bringing things together rather than dividing them. So we're moving towards unity consciousness. And then magnetic energy is over unity. Like our heart is like a magnetic electromagnetic generator. So that creates an over unity. And so the over unity, the magnetic energy allows us to have a whole new paradigm. And because we're one with the whole magnetic flow of the universe, the energy is infinite. It's free. This is the amazing part of it. And we literally can tap it into individually, collectively at any level that we want. So here we've gone from feeling limited, of trying to fit into a paradigm that no longer serves us because it's one of bondage, to discovering that we can move from our mind to our heart, expand our ability to be into this electromagnetic frequency, this donut, right? This Merkaba. Some people will not understand what a Merkaba is, flowing in and flowing out. And now we're in unity conscious with the whole systems, from the atom all the way up to the multiverse. All of them are stacked, interdimensional, like Ukrainian dolls, of these donuts within donuts within donuts. And now when you have that alignment of frequencies, you can move up and down. You're no longer bound by the mind in a limited paradigm of polarity. Exciting. So now we have the potential ability, being gods in potential, of moving up and down through this continuum of consciousness, right? From the literally the base chakra of creation all the way to unity consciousness. Exciting times.
It's exciting times. And this is why we're preparing. This is what we're preparing for. And this is why governments and everybody is in a lockdown and holding all of this information away from the public and trying to steer them away or tell them that that's false or whatever. And they can't deny it anymore. And people now, more and more people are speaking, and they can't attack them all because there's so many now who are feeling this. So it's not just a bunch of words. It's actually a physical and neural change that each one of you are experiencing. What the world would have you think of is it's a disease, or you're a failure, or there's something wrong with you. And that's the message they're going to keep sending you. Because
you're not fitting in. You're just not fitting in.
And yeah. And so the reality is we have to let go of that concept and trust what's coming from our hearts, and look at what's coming from our brains and begin to question the validity or the honesty or the purity of that. We're not going to be able to connect with all of the universe if we keep living in this limited container right here. This can only move as far as this will allow it to, but we've not trusted our hearts.
Right.
The story of a broken heart. I'll get a broken heart because to us, a heart is, it's love. It's about mating. It's about finding a woman or a man and having children. And that's love. That's the Valentine's Day love. Well, you've been made to believe that, but it's far more than that. It's your existence is love. Your existence, love, is an energy.
Yeah, it's actually the over unity consciousness that we were talking about.
Yeah, and it's a unified field. Love is a unified field, and it comes into you, and it can only flow as much as the brain will allow it to. So what we've learned to do to each other is to close down the brain. We open up the brain to respond to all kinds of things, but we don't allow it to process the energy. And when we let go, and we say it's like letting go of the brain fog and say, okay, I got brain fog. I don't know what the word is. I don't care. It isn't about the word. Right. What is it that I'm feeling? How can I express what I'm feeling? So this is what I've been working on for the past couple of years is how to move, how do we move through that? It's not going to, the message for me, while others may be more rapid, is that the key is to keep looking forward, not back. Allow the back to come, what's past to come up, and it will, because it needs to be released. Not for you to remember. It's coming up so that you will look at it, you'll remember it for a second and say, I don't need this anymore.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was old paradigm garbage.
So let's talk about that just for a sec. So from my understanding then, really the whole purpose of an incarnation on a physical plane is to deal with emotions. This is the only dimension where the five sensors and the upper levels of those, the clairs of each emotions can get expressed. So this is your opportunity to deal with emotions. And we know that trapped emotions, unprocessed emotions, trauma, whatever, get locked physiologically into the body, and they lead to stress, duress, disease, and disorder. So our job is to process emotions as they arrive, good, bad, or ugly. And that everything that we've created is a thought form, either a thought, word, deed, or action that creates the vibrational frequency that we project out, and we manifest the world back to us in an endless loop. So what's showing up in your world is something that you ordered, just like you order pizza, right? So it may not be the best pizza. I mean, you may not like the person who's in your face, but guess what? You ordered it in order to have this emotional experience. And if you're overwhelmed by it, well, that's good, because it means that you have something that you could process inside of yourself to let go of that emotion. And guess what? When you get it right, that type of person will never show up in your life again. You get to graduate because you processed that emotion, not got attached to you, didn't bury it, ignore it, try and get rid of it. You actually worked through it and let go of it. I mean, that's what this is all about.
You can look at something and you can analyze it, you can process it, and you can see, is this beneficial or is this a harness? And in that moment, you can make the choice for your highest good, your higher self. And you become aware of it without judgment, without trying to, fight with anybody. The thing is that each one of us, this is this toroidal field that we live in, we generate within us, and we expand, and it becomes larger and larger. It's sort of like the drops of rain when they hit the water. It takes a couple of seconds before, or maybe less than a second before the rest of the body of water accepts it. And that's what's happening with us. We are raining on ourselves and saying, oh, hello. Another part of me is coming in. Okay, you're welcome. So they're droplets. They're droplets. And honor them. Every moment of new awareness of who you are or what you're here to do. Say thank you to you for allowing your heart to open or poke the cloud for the droplets to fall. It's really a natural process. It's not a mechanical process.
Right.
And it comes when we can begin to realize that we are far more than we've ever been told we are. And I'm not trying to create any doctrine or any pathway. All of them are speaking the same thing, but most of them have been owned by somebody as a control mechanism. And when we can let go of the fact that somebody needs to be in control of it, of us, that we're perfectly able, if we come into our true self, to come together in unity and harmony and balance, everything will shift. And it's shifting now. It's shifting.
Absolutely. So I want to go back to that idea that you brought up, which I think is really a fundamental concept, is that we have choice. You can call it free will or not, but it's choice. And you can choose when something arises in your consciousness. You could judge it as good, bad, or ugly, or you can just say that, I brought this onto myself for my own edification, my own learning, my own